How's it going, nerds? It's time to rack up that XP on a quest to queer up gaming. I'm Taylor Jackson, and it's back to the grind. On this episode, we're going to talk about Monster Prom, a visual novel created by Beautiful Glitch. A visual novel is basically a game that tells like a story, but you make choices throughout it. And it's pretty neat because you can kind of morph the characters as you want and kind of create your own narrative and story as you go. Beautiful Glitch is based out of Barcelona, Spain, but they like to say their headquarters is the internet itself, mainly because they're based out of so many different places as far as story writers, artists, people putting together the game. So they like to think of it as a conglomerate effort among the whole world. Their big motto is games without limitations. And you can kind of see it with this game. And before I start, this video will contain some spoilers about the game that I'm talking about. So if you don't want to be spoiled, maybe play the game first and then come back and watch this later. You're going to come back, right? As with any visual novel, the characters in the story are some of the big draw points for fans, so we'll start with those. We have Miranda, the genocidal fish girl princess. We have Damien, the angry prince of hell. We have Scott, the good boy werewolf jock. We have Liam, the vampire who's too hipster for his own good. We have Polly, who's the party girl ghost. And we have Vera, the self-made business gorgon who's as ruthless as she is popular. These 6 characters come together to create a very likable and diverse cast that you just want to date. So let's go into the point of the game. The biggest difference between Monster Prom and other visual novels is that you're not in it alone. It's a multiplayer competitive dating sim, so you're trying to woo your monsters better than they can woo their monsters. The game is done in a sort of Yaga-style progression, if any of you have played that. It was an indie game released a couple years ago in which you kind of visit different areas on a map to raise your stats or hit up events to kind of learn more about the people in the world. So they're kind of taking that very beautiful, simplistic, and sort of deep style and applying it to the most important event in any young monster's life, going to Monster Prom. So where's the queerness in this game? It's pretty much everywhere. From the very beginning of the game, when you're selecting one of your 4 monsters to serve as your avatar, you not only get to select the character's name, but also their pronouns. So that's really fantastic that they actually weave in the pronouns of the character you're choosing, and therefore your own insert, into all the dialogue in the game. Any dialogue that comes up will reflect the choices you made at the beginning, so it's just a sort of great inclusive nod from the developers. All of the 6 dateable characters in the game are canonically queer as well, which is revealed through conversations between the characters themselves, just casually talking in a high school setting. This sort of cuts into the social norms of sexuality you would face in high school, where here it's no big deal, everyone's just talking about their weekends. Whereas in a normal high school, in a non-spooky setting, it can be a little more stressful, it could have a lot more stigma, and this game kind of reaches in to try to cut some of the stigma that you would face in high school. And there are so many cute stories I can tell you about Monster Prom and all the characters, but I don't want to spoil it because I want you to play the game yourself. So I'll go into one about Damien's dads. Damien, the Prince of Hell, has 2 dads, and they're both kings of hell. They want him to carry on the family business, so to speak, by running Hell's armies. Damien finds out one day when looking up cool pictures of drag race crashes, because he loves carnage and violence and that sort of thing, he came across a beautiful show called RuPaul's Drag Race, in which he saw all of these beautiful monsters putting on their best faces, strutting on the runway, doing their hair and makeup. This sparked something within Damien where he was like, I want to make everyone beautiful like these beautiful monsters, these beautiful drag queens. I want to be a hair and makeup stylist. I don't want to worry about my dads. Fuck hell. Fuck my dads. Super lame. I don't want to do this. But it's pretty cool because over the course of the story and hanging out with Damien, you get to sort of introduce his deep, dark secret to all of his closest friends. And they're very supportive of him. Like, they want to be there for him. They want to be like, oh my God, you made this. Well, he was practicing on corpses, but we won't talk about that part. But he's like, oh my God, this corpse is so beautiful. Its hair looks so voluminous. The makeup is so nice. And then it kind of gave him the confidence to speak up to his fathers. And by the end of the game, if you get the good ending with him, he becomes the hair and makeup stylist for the army as well as the general. So he can make all of his troops look real good as well as fight off those pesky angels. And you get to be with him in hell as his consort. And Who doesn't want to be with Damien? Look at him, he's just a sweet little angry boy. And there's another cute story about Liam, the social outcast vampire I was telling you about earlier, has Miranda kind of weasel into his life and try to make him more popular so we can all see what a beautiful, cool person he really is deep down when he's not trying to be aloof and hipster. Basically, Miranda goes into his life with your help and try to get everyone to like him. And so you go into his Instagram and make it popular. He gets very upset. He's like, oh, my art's supposed to be misunderstood. I'm not supposed to have people understand me. I'm not supposed to have all these followers. But by the end of it, you sort of show him the joy of friendship and you show him the joy of people supporting him. And he becomes prom king and you becomes prom royalty. And it's a really sweet, touching scene where you see the CG at the end and he's just like, so that was a really heartwarming scene as well. When Beautiful Glitch created this game, they wanted a fresh, neat, modern sort of view on the genre. So they wanted to be kind of like watching an episode of your favorite TV show, which works because the game, you can play through it so many times and have so many different random events happen. It's like watching your favorite show and being like, I wonder what's gonna happen this week. They wanted to take a sort of postmodern wrong tone with it, sort of being a little more punk and exposing a lot of the double standards in media regarding sexuality, violence, drugs, all that sort of stuff. Basically, the studio noticed that video games have no issue with violence, but they seem to have a lot of issues with drugs, sex, and sexuality, which are oftentimes just as much as some part of someone's lives as violence or as hurt. So they sort of tackle these in a very light, parodic way, but being very self-aware the entire time, which sort of lets everyone in on the joke and lets everyone kind of tackle these heavier subjects with a bit of lightness, brevity, and humor. The game is also super relatable, right? It's a school scenario. It's something we've all done. It's something we've all gone through. We've either suffered through it, breezed by, just rocked it out the entire time. But they present it as a larger-than-life experience. So it's taking something that people may have had a very familiar experience with, but they introduce Coke orgies at prom. They introduce you trying to find guacamole, marbles, and a penguin mask in order to enact the crazy sex move, the reverse Romanian Wilkinson, with your hot ghost classmate. It's sort of a reminiscent experience where you have those over-the-top moments, and then they slip in going to class, performing a school play, skipping class and going to the bathroom behind school. They kind of mix together these crazy things with very relatable things, and it just feels good. The game feels good. That's the best review I can give of a game. I've played it so many times, and it just feels really good. And it's better than your high school experience too, no matter how good it was, because there are monsters in it. And monsters are fucking cool. Well, that's my queer little take on it. Why don't you let me know what you think down in the comments below? And maybe consider purchasing the game. They put a lot of work into this, and I really like what they did. This is definitely a non-spawn. They're not paying us to talk about this. It's just something I was playing recently, and I really wanted to tell everyone about it. When I'm passionate, I just want to like yell from the rooftops like, I really like this game. Come play this game with me. And hey, if you want to see how the game works before purchasing, maybe hit up my Twitch. Link below. I play a lot of it with friends, and it gets pretty raunchy sometimes, so. Well, that's it for me. I'm gonna go home and get it on with a whole football team worth of werewolves. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye!